You're watching Diecast Breakdown with Chuck Ellis, David Johns, and Mark McHotwheel. So sit back, strap in, and hang on. The breakdown starts now.
Well, something is happening. We are off to a great start. Am I echoing to you?
Yeah, it's a good 3-second delay.
That is fantastic. All right, hold on a second. I know what happened. I had my I had the video playing in another window. That'll do it. Fantastic. All right. Well, hey there, folks. Chuck here, and welcome to Diecast Breakdown. It's an interesting one because, as you will notice, I am joined only by Mr. David Johns.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Sorry, I had the same thing going on, and I was hearing it twice as well. It's just a comedy of errors today, but thank you for being here.
Well, we are down a guest and down a host today. We are a little short-handed. Mustang Hunter Jason had some emergency work stuff come up, so our thoughts are with him as he's doing some very important things. He is on a job that he gets called upon frequently to take care of stuff. So for now, we are just the two of us going to have a little chat, and we appreciate everyone being here today. I wanted to take this opportunity, since we're off to kind of a funky start here, to talk a bit about the show and a bit about the ideas that we're having for the future of Diecast Breakdown. And we're going to have the news in a little bit, and I would love to see from y'all some input when it comes to the news. We would love to share things that you're excited about as well, especially events and customs and challenges, because there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff that happens in the community, especially on YouTube, but also on Instagram, that happens. There's races, there's custom challenges, there's build-offs, all kinds of great stuff. And if you get a chance, if you could email, if you're hosting an event or you know a friend that's doing one, email diecastbreakdown@gmail.com and just use the subject line news, and we'll make sure we add it to the show or make a post about it on our channel, because we want to make sure word gets out about stuff, because sometimes things will come up and frequently fall by the wayside. So
absolutely,
or not get the attention that they need. So anywho, just wanted to give that as a quick shout out before we get started on this. But David, I wanted to ask you, what's exciting you in the world of Diecast?
Lots of good stuff, guys. Take a look at some pictures. Chuck, we're going to have some photos on the. Yeah, there we go. What are y'all's thoughts on this new RLC version of this Camaro? I've heard a little fatigue from this casting, but I think this one is a pretty awesome version. And look at that under the hood detail that you get. This is an RLC that is dropping in 2 days, this Tuesday. So if you are all about these, this would be a good one. I like this. I would not mind that sitting on my shelf, Chuck, at all. That's a good looking car. Let's stay with Hot Wheels. And this might be a topic that we talk about a little bit later. Is anybody watching the Hot Wheels Ultimate Challenge on Peacock? I know you have to stream it. It's not on the main NBC platform. It is online, but I'm curious. I have watched an episode, and I'm going to reserve my comment until I hear from you guys. I'm curious to see anybody that's checked it out, what your thoughts are.
Yep.
So
I agree. Leave those in the comments now, because we're going to circle back to them.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that because a part of me, Chuck, is like, hey, this is putting our hobby in the ether and in people's eye, and that's got to be
sure
good for something. All right, we'll get to it. All right, so
Mm.
let's go to Greenlight now. They've got a new showroom floor series, and I will get to that diecast blast here as well. And in fact, we'll just talk about that. So, in case you missed it on a previous episode, if you're anywhere in the Midwest here in the States, Indianapolis, Indiana is the home of the Greenlight headquarters, as I understand it. And this is a pretty regular event. One Monday afternoon, I know a few of you guys are going to go up there. You can buy old stock, old chase vehicles, do some trading, some selling. Just a pretty cool thing that we don't mind passing it along to you as it is newsworthy. Diecast Blast in Indianapolis in a few weeks. All right. As far as some releases from Greenlight, they have got a new showroom floor series coming out, and those are the ones that I like. Those are going to be clean stock versions, just like you would see, well, on the showroom. Lots of trucks in this one. Pretty cool. Take a look at them. I hate that Jason, Mustang Hunter Diecast, is not here. I was going to ask him for his overall thoughts on that Mach 3, and that's something we can probably talk about as well. Kind of a weirdly received car, and, it's a weird car for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So any comments about that would be welcome. Chuck, maybe you and I can split up the ones that Mark mentioned he was going to be excited about, or if you want to take those, I've got all of mine done.
Sure. Well, we're gonna pull this one up here. This is a prototype from Mini GT, and this is from Glenn and the crew, and they're dropping some peaks of some pre-orders. This is the McLaren Artura, and Mark had said it looks good. Not many other versions of this car. And the Diorama fans are going to love this hauler trailer that they are releasing. I certainly enjoy that. I love a good trailer. And so I'll be looking to add that to my collection. And over on Tarmac Works, Felix has crushed it with this really cool Toyota Chaser that they're
lots of
really,
collaboration.
really good looking. Lots of collaboration. Lamely Group, Vertex. So that's very cool. And that's part of their Global 64 series. Nice to see a Chaser done with some care and precision. Anyway, and we know, did you know that Hot Wheels is getting back into the 1/43rd scale? There's those cars again.
Yeah, rest of the lineup for the Mini GT.
So I do not have a photo for that. I must have missed it. Oh, look. Yep, I missed it. Oh, no, I didn't. Where is it? Yeah, it's going to be one of those episodes, folks. Bear with us. So, yeah, it would appear I did not add that graphic to the lineup, but there is a photo of some Corvette. It looks like a Corvette and the new Lamborghini Countach in 1/43rd scale, weird looking blister packs. It's really funky. There you go, David. Thank you very much. We're going to
make it happen.
We are going to make this show happen. By golly, look at that. There it is. So thank you, David. Appreciate that. And it's really cool. Everyone is tempting me with 1/43rd scale. I almost put some 1/43rd scales in here because there's some really wild ones that are coming out. There's this one that's like an old 70s Cadillac that's got like a camper top on it. And I was like, it's screaming my name, but I can't do it. I swore off all other scales but 1/64s. So speaking of, go ahead.
I was going to say, some of our fellow creator friends have dabbled in the 1/43rd. I saw where Champion DJK, former guest of the show, got his first few 1/43rd scales and was, impressed with the details like we all are. And I had the good fortune of stumbling across some a friend gave me, and they're amazing. That is just a slippery slope to go down. And I think, Chuck, you've already made your call on that. And I should have been
absolutely.
I should have been more definitive in my stance on it because I like them.
I agree with you. 1/43rd scale is a wicked scale because there are so many cool things in it, and it's got just enough. Like if you really wanted to get into it, you can find 1/43rd scale diecasts in every CVS and Walgreens across the country.
Yep, that's right.
So it's a dangerous road to go down.
But a lot of cars and vehicles that are not in any other scale too. There's
Indeed.
Just so many.
Yeah, it's a very unique scale, and it's funny to me because railroading Model railroading has O scale, which is 1/48th scale, and it's so
Mhm.
frustratingly close that I'm like, but it's just off enough that you know.
Yep.
And I don't get that. But that speaking of model railroads, Monster Model Works is not really a diecast company, but Jimmy has really made a name for himself in doing S scale building kits, these laser kits, and S scale is 1/64 scale. It is exact 1/64 scale. And he's caused a bit of the stir in the modeling community for railroads because there, up until recently, had been almost nothing for them. And right now he's got a 20% off sale going on. You can find on his Facebook page, he has a coupon code. So just look up Monster Model Works' Facebook page and look for the coupon code there for 20% off of all of the S scale structures. And these are two that he just added, and they're fantastic looking. Very good kits. The larger one is kind of a background. It's designed to be a background building, so it's a little
Mhm.
narrower than it would be. So it's designed. So that's great if you're doing like a shelf and you wanted to have kind of an industrial looking thing. And the other building is a full 3-dimensional kit. He's got about 14 or 15 kits now in S scale, and I've got all of them. They're fantastic. And sticking to the diorama theme, this is a brand I was not really familiar with until recently, but I was dabbling in fellow podcaster Model Car Houston's website, and he
Oh,
sells
yeah.
these. And I'm going to be probably picking up a few of them. They are 1/64th scale diorama kits. These are done in acrylic, so they look like they're plastic and some kind of acetate type thing. Kind of a more mass-produced thing, certainly, than Jimmy's stuff at Monster Model Works. And these kits are about 80 to 120 bucks, give or take. So they aren't super cheap. Of course, neither is
Right.
Jimmy, but they are very nice looking. I love this McDonald's kit that I have no idea if that's licensed or not. I'm guessing not. And this other one is a more Japanese themed one that is a little garage with a hobby shop in front of it, and it has like a Tamiya hobby shop with pictures of model cars in the windows and the very cool looking kits. I can't really endorse them because I haven't really had one in my hand, but they look fantastic. And I'm hoping to get Model Cars Houston on our show one day and chat with him. He seems like he's
Yeah,
got a pretty cool shop.
absolutely. If you're ever watching this Model Car Houston, we have got to get you on. We would love
Yes.
to have you.
And we assure you that our show is usually much better prepared than this one. We are just having fun today. So finally, I've got M2 has a new casting that they have pointed out is not some other company's retread, which I don't know who's out there doing
Wow.
that, but
Shots
shots
fired.
fired at somebody. um, Maybe their shots are fired at the early 90s Hot Wheels that used the old Corgi Juniors castings. I don't know. But it's a 71 to 76 GMC van. So that's very cool. I always love seeing a good van. I just picked up the Johnny Lightning Schwinn BMX Chevy van. That's very cool.
Mhm.
And yeah, so anyway, that's what's exciting us in the world of diecast.
Good
So
stuff.
yeah, I'm gonna go check out the comments really quick. David, you got anything on your mind you want to talk about?
Uh, I in preparation for this show, and you know, uh, we we uh we always want to hype up other folks in our community. So I'll talk just for a minute. We're gonna have Mustang Hunter, and I know you guys were looking forward to him. I think it would be really cool if we gave him a little bit of props anyway, while he's
Hmm.
not, because he has got some cool things going on that we'll talk about in the interview next time he's here. He's got a newsletter, and we are all about people getting out information in our community. And it's never a competition. It's a celebration of our hobby, and the more the merrier. So go check out Mustang Hunter's newsletter. That's he's
Hmm.
only gotten a couple episodes out so far. I hope it really takes off, because I think it's another cool way of getting out information. And I know he did a car show and is starting to do the car shows. I'm curious if anybody in the chat took part in that, where I believe you make a custom and take pictures of it,
Hmm.
and he sends those out and puts a compilation together. Um, So go check out Mustang Hunter Diecast if you are not familiar with his channel. You'll be glad that you did. He's got a number one. He's got a really cool Mustang, doesn't he, Chuck?
He does, in fact. Yes, it's appropriately branded.
There you go. He
yeah.
is on brand. Yeah. So what'd you find in the chat? What's everybody talking about?
Well, we got a few folks talking about the show in the chat, and thank you everybody for rolling with us and sticking with us as we make up this show as we go. We're adapting and overcoming, as one commenter said.
Grills.
Yes, indeed. So one last thing, one funny thing that involves Mustang Hunter, actually, and in case you haven't checked out on this channel, there is a video that I just posted about a large collection of diecast that is for sale. If you go to that video and click on the link in the description, there's a link to the estate sale. The guy is selling everything that he can't get rid of individually as a lot eventually. And I know Jason was hitting him up for all of his Shelby stuff. And it's a ton of diecast, a bunch of 1/18 scale, 1/43 scale, ton of 1/64 scale stuff, some
Vintage,
model kits, all kinds of stuff, vintage, new, vintage meaning, mid 90s up, but still older things. And it's a huge collection. So anyway, he is moving actually not too far from where Mark lives. And he's moving from next door to me to next door to Mark, which is a weird quinky dink. But
that's a long drive.
Yeah, that is a very long drive. So he's looking to unload a lot of diecast. He's not even a collector. He's just a car guy that has just acquired these things. Because I think we were talking on recently on one of these episodes with one of our guests. I can't remember who it was, but like you just kind of become a collector when you become a car person. The little cars show up. You don't even have to buy them; they just show up because people will buy them and say I saw this and I thought of you. So but yeah, anyway, so yeah, check that video out and check the link for that. So yeah, let's talk about that TV show that our friend Rutledge Wood is hosting. So it's nice to see him doing stuff. I enjoyed him. I liked him on the first iteration of Top Gear America.
Right.
And I thought that was a interesting take on the series. I think it had potential. They just didn't have the budget. But he seems like a genuinely like cool dude. Like I think I would get along really well with him. He's got some really cool tasting cars. He has some very obscure tasting cars. And now we've got a show on Peacock about it.
So I'll put my cards on the table. And Chuck will be the same, I'm sure. We have watched at least one episode, and if you guys haven't checked it out, you can't knock it till you watch one at least. I actually reached out to Rutledge on Instagram, and he responded thanking for the viewership and for the comments. Some things there's not a lot of is it just me? There's not a lot of Hot Wheels on the show. It's mainly
it's
a show.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, like car shows, especially reality-based ones, have a tough go of it because the core audience, us, the people who really appreciate either in this case Hot Wheels as a brand or the larger shows where they're car people, they are not made for car people unless it's on like Motor Trend or you're talking like one of the Dave Freeburger shows. They're made for a mass audience. I think Top Gear came the closest to really kind of bridging the gap between being a car show for non-car people and a car show for car people. And they did it.
You're right.
They had a lot of but they had a lot of gravitas behind it because all those guys were established auto journalists and auto personalities beforehand, and they had a ridiculous budget to work with to do all kinds of really wild things, and they're still doing that with Grand Tour, which we'll talk about in a minute. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that one or not. The latest
4 seasons.
Yep.
Well, not the absolute latest. I don't know where.
Latest one. They just had one come out. But anyway, so for those who haven't seen it, the show is hosted by a couple of people, Rutledge Wood being among them, and it's two teams building a real world version of a car that is meaningful to them. And so the first episode, you've got a gentleman who had a 69 Mustang in his past that he built with his dad, and he always wanted it to be a wheel stander. And the other was a young woman who had some kind of engineering and computer programming background, and she had this very meaningful and sounded like a heart-wrenching story involving a Camaro and being able to break free with this 06 Camaro. And so they built these two cars, and they have, each episode has a celebrity guest judge that kind of shows up, and they basically do the whole, you've got 7 days to build a car, which anyone who's actually built a car just kind of rolls their eyes at. Okay. And they do kind of a one thing I do like about the show is they have a kind of what's the guy, Mousetrap, like the old Mousetrap video game, or not video game, board game thing. I can't remember his name. Anyway, it's a very complex track in the middle of the show floor, and they'll have a iconic Hot Wheels car fantasy casting come down, and the teams mid-build will have to stop what they're doing and incorporate something from that car into a build. So I'm kind of amused at how it's gone so far, because usually they're just trying to do enough to please the judges on these things, because you can tell the crews are going flat out. They are trying to make things work as best they can. And I will say, after the first episode, my hopes for the show as a car person were not high. It is entertaining. You can see the flash and the dazzle and all that stuff, but the goal of the one guy was to make a wheel standing 69 Dodge Charger, so they built these ridiculous wheelie bars off the back of it so it wouldn't flip itself up, and they put a Hemi engine in the back of it to add weight. And I am like 99% sure that car wasn't even running at the time they
right
because they have the cars kind of come down a ramp, and I noticed by the third episode that nobody's in the car when it's coming down the ramp. They're just kind of like lowering the cars with like a winch or something. And then to demonstrate the they're all like holding their ears like, oh, it's so loud. And I was like, is it though? It doesn't feel like it's really loud. Anyway, like they pipe in sound, and then and maybe the engine did run, but I'm pretty sure that engine wasn't connected to anything, because I don't know how you build a rear-engined Hemi with a transaxle and all the stuff that you would need to do to make that function in 7 days. And then they did the wheel stand by having hydraulic rams on the bottom of the car, spoiler alert, and lift the car up to give it that wheelie look, which, first of all, that's not a wheelie. That you can put that on a shopping cart and have it do a wheelie, or a wheel stand, I should say. So, is that technically a wheel stand? Sure. Okay, fine. You've got it on its back wheels, but now but that's definitely not going to work when the car is moving, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm with you, David. I don't think the show is for us. But at the same time, I like Rutledge. I like who he is in the car community, and I love the brand, and I love that this is something that will be appealing to people who don't really know much about cars. Like, this is a good gateway thing for cars. But TuneWorks Inc. exclusive says, okay, if they bring in a couple of folks who can build a car, yes. Now, the people that they have coming in do seem like they are real craftsmen. They probably are real car building people, but I don't, again, see them being able to, if you're working on a car day and night, even if you had 10 people off to the side, that are not on the show doing the work. It's just impossible to get some of these things done properly, because there's always parts that you got to order. There's always something that goes wrong. And you can't do, I mean, unless they're doing like wraps on these cars, there's no way you can get even the paint to cure in the right amount of time. But anyway.
So I'll go back to the original point I had. Any publicity is good publicity. Hot Wheels is a brand that is recognizable by everybody on the planet. For us that are nerds in our own community, I think we need to look at, is it going to create a little bit of buzz and a little bit more, I don't know, anything for diecast cars? Probably so. So I'm glad that they made it. I think I got what I was expecting to get out of it. I may not tune in every week, but I am glad that they made it. The more things that we have attached to our community on that type of platform, probably good. So no hate coming from Diecast Breakdown. Absolutely thrilled to see the show got green lighted or green lit, whatever, in the first place. So
not to be confused with green light.
Yeah, not who's having a diecast blast September 18th.
Yes, indeed.
When as you're going through the comments, I want you to see if you can find Old Man Diecast. He had a question that caught my eye as it went by. I think it'd be a great topic for everyone in the chat, since today's episode, and you guys didn't know it when you logged on, today's episode is participatory. That is participation is going to be required today, folks. So Pete was asking,
let's see, idea for future episode: difference between collectors of diecast. In other words, why does one venture from Hot Wheels to like Tarmac, or why do they stay with one brand, and so on? Fantastic question.
Yeah, write your answers to Pete's question. If you collect premium stuff, I want you to write kind of what led you down that road, while Chuck and I talk about our experiences. And we won't be in exhaustive detail, but we both dabble on some of these premium stuff, and I'm curious how other people came to that decision as well. Chuck,
just a few final thoughts on the show. Big A's Diecast is the only reason the show is getting buzz is because it has the name Hot Wheels attached to it. I agree. It standalone, it's not really an interesting makeover show. I like the challenge. We didn't talk about the challenge. Like the end goal is to have an actual Hot Wheels car built of the car that they've made for the show, which reminds me a lot of when Monster Garage was a big thing in the late 90s, early 2000s. They actually had diecast versions of some of the cars that they made on Monster Garage. So so first of all, I'm very interested to hear what Pete has to say about this upcoming RLC car, because the C is for club, so Red Line Club. Anyway, that's a thing I'm trying to get out of my vocabulary. But yeah, it's I've talked about this before, and I talked about it a bit when I was on the show with Derek, but I'm really seeing myself, unless some really like straight down the middle car aimed right at me comes up in RLC, I'm probably not going to renew. I already didn't renew one of my things. I had two for a while, just in case I really had a car that I really wanted to get two of. But I now only have one, and they've kind of changed things up since then as well. Like now, a lot of the cars you can buy 2 to 5 depending on the car. But the more I thought about it, I had stopped seeing the cars as, oh, this would be a cool car to add to my collection, and more as, well, I better jump on this thing because it might be $500 soon. So, even if I don't plan on reselling it, I might one day go, oh man, I wish I'd bought that car when it was $30 because now it's $500. And, I had to be honest with myself and go, that's not why I got into the hobby. And I realized I was starting to buy cars for that reason. And so I've stopped doing that. And, for me, it's like thinking about, what what can you get for $30? You know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and $30 plus shipping. So by the time I'm done with $30 plus shipping on the Hot Wheels site, I can go over to diecastdirect.com or Tarmac Works directly. And as David is holding up a plinth with a Tarmac Works vehicle on it, and for the same price, get 2 of those. Depending on the level of Tarmac Works, but they start at $14 or $15, and get something that's really cool and accurate and really just stands out on your shelf and is, and that's not to say Spectraflame doesn't shine. I've got right here the Jaguar 64 Jaguar XKE that just came out, and I almost didn't buy this one because the XKE is a cool car, but it doesn't really speak to my thing. But this thing, when it's open, absolutely gorgeous. Like it's like an emerald. Like it reminds me of when we had Bruce Pascal on, and he talked about how those cars that he has that look like Christmas ornaments that were used in the commercials. So so yeah, I think they have their place. I think as I've talked about before, I think Hot Wheels is a feeling of nostalgia for the adult collector as much as it is a car thing. And it ain't the same without the flame is a statement that has some truth to it, because nothing rolls like a Hot Wheels car. Even the real riders roll beautifully. They're designed as toys. They're designed to go. They're designed to be played with. And there are some Tarmac Works that might scrape the ground because they're so low and they won't roll. So if you want a car that you can roll across your desk, that may not be the thing for you. And it's Hot Wheels has a look and a feel and a smell when you open the little blister pack, and like all those feelings come rushing back to me when I open a mainline Hot Wheels, or I break open a premium that is a really nice version of a standard mainline car that I've been looking forward to having in premium. So I'm kind of drifting more into having the cars that just going after the cars I like, regardless of brand, regardless of whatever. And now it's so easy with all the news that's out there with Lamley and Ministry of Diecast, and even this show to a lesser extent, where we're constantly looking for what's new and exciting, and you can just go on Instagram or YouTube and find all that stuff. It's so much easier to find and be able to buy these cars, most of them without the stress of having to set your timer for an RLC or spend, half your day going to all of the local Walmarts and Targets only to find out that somebody was there before it opened, or an employee has gone through all of the cases already and picked everything out, or you've gotten one of these cases where there were no special cars to begin with. That's the ridiculous thing is finding these things. Like I saw somebody posted on Facebook that they found 5 of the Willys dragster chase cars from that classic dragster series that's out now in Macy's on the shelf. And I know that Macy's did not get 5 cases of the premium diecast. That was one case, and it had 5 chases in it. So that tells me that we're not getting an even distribution. And I saw somebody today that posted that they had found like 3 or 4 super treasure hunts in one place, and that shouldn't be like that. The rule of averages is that these should be about, everybody assumes that there's going to be 1 or 2 treasure hunts to a case and maybe 1 super treasure hunt to a case, and so you shouldn't be seeing somebody with like 4 or 5, especially when it's in the premiums. So anyway, that's my take on it.
Let's look at some because we got Rapid Nismo over in the UK, and he hunts a lot different ground than we do here. He's looking for a lot of times specific cars. I get that. Got to find a Juke. Got to find a Cooper. Some of the other comments that we've got, Eddie's got a great rule of thumb that he uses. The Godfather says, don't buy it if you can't let it go. I can see the logic behind that. And Xavier, Diecast Show Customs, coming in again with kind of the rapid take. He's going specific cars, no matter who makes it. Big A and Old Man Diecast are conversing in the chat about the morale of the hunters that are out there, and I'm glad you guys brought that up, gentlemen, because what was really surprising is I threw a curveball at Derek when I was on one of his live discussions, Chuck. The week before you were on there, I was on there, and I fired back at him, and I said, hoping to catch him off guard, I said, Derek, it's tough out there hunting, and you are one of the most successful super treasure hunters out there. Are you getting to the point where you're going to be looking toward other premium brands because of the distribution issues and all that? And he's like, surprisingly, he said, I'm close. And I thought, whoa, I didn't see that coming, because so much of the really cool, and oddly enough, I'm going to sound like a nerd, but some of the exciting content on his channel is when he stumbles onto a super treasure hunt, and he is remarkably consistent at that, or he had been when Mattel had their stuff together and were getting boxes out. But you can see those guys that are out there beating the pavement and hunting, they're tired of it. They're really getting fatigued, rolling up on the same garbage pegs week after week. It's just so much time, to track these things down is it's a full-time job. You mentioned earlier just the accessibility. I'm curious if other people in the chat do you guys buy premium brands just because you literally don't want to get out there and go to Walmart and Target and Hobby Lobby? I would understand that, because I am constantly on my iPad shopping. King Nissan chimes in. He only does Nissan and Datsun. It's a shame Mark is not here today. He'd give him some knuckles for that. So I'll give you one, King Nissan. There you go. What are our other thoughts on this topic? Really interesting.
I like BP Custom Diecast. Ben says it's all custom potential to me. Same store week. Tunerworks Inc. says same store week apart, the hauler and chase the ground pounder Cougar Chase. That's nice.
Well, there you go.
Congratulations. So,
feast or famine.
King Nissan says there's nothing good here, and I'm trying to find the White Liberty Walk R34. So if anybody's got that, hit up King Nissan in the chat.
Show some Godzilla love to King Nissan.
Yeah. That one's fascinating to me, because that one's a main line. It's not even a treasure hunt, right? It's just one that people are really
just
into.
Mainline.
I did find a treasure hunt recently. I found that 95 Jeep Cherokee with the white, red, and orange livery on it, and that's a very good looking casting. And
it is.
So I'm glad I found that one. Like every now and then, like I'll find ones that I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I appreciate that the appeal of a super treasure hunt is you're going to be able to find a rare and premium car for formerly 99 cents, now $1.18 or whatever. But the amount of time, like you said, and this is something that we were going to talk about on the show today, is finding that balance, the time to do hunting and do. And this is something that I have a lot of props for Jason at Mustang Hunter for, is, he is a prolific creator, and he's doing not just hunt videos, but he's doing racing videos and customs and mail calls. And he's doing just about every genre you can think of when it comes to these things, and doing, the car shows, the YouTube car show. And, it reminds me very much, I think it goes very well hand in hand with Diecast Heroes, where they've got, a virtual car show every other month. And I just picked up the latest issue of that. It was fantastic. Great publication. In case you haven't heard us talk enough about it yet and how great it is, go check out Diecast Heroes. And we'll be having them next week on the show. We've got a previously recorded interview with them. So be sure to stick around for that. That'll be a lot of fun. We got into, they were our first guest on the show, and they have, a lot has changed, because it was, I think, 2020 21 when we last talked to them, maybe. And a lot has changed. They've got a lot more issues under their belts now, and they've got kind of a more stable place in the world for them, and they're doing some really cool stuff. So be sure to stick around for that one next week. That'll be next Sunday. And yeah, so let's see. As Tuneworks said, all Hot Wheels disappear before they hit the shelves here. Yeah, that's a very common thing. So
There you go.
Well, I'm
Aaron.
glad you're clean, Aaron. Let's see. I have better luck at flea markets, vendor malls, antique malls, etc., than retail stores. Big Daddy, that is absolutely correct. That is where I get a lot of the most fun hunting, because you never know what you're going to run into. And there are a couple of really good flea markets here in North Central Florida that are not that hard to get to. And yeah, it's I've actually got a few vintage toy stores. David and I actually stopped in at one. And while they do not carry the premiums that David is usually looking for, if you're looking to collect slightly vintage to recently released premiums, it's a great place to look. And you pay for it, but you know that you're going to get something good when you're there. You're not rolling up to a Walmart and then walking out and then driving to the next Walmart and rolling up and walking out with nothing. And it's interesting, and it's I'm sure fascinating to folks in some of the other countries that we reach, where these cars are not that readily available. I think Mustang Hunter Diecast was pointing out on one of his episodes that one of his viewers told him that he had more cars in Jason's personal collection than there were in the entire region of Poland where this guy lived. So it's something that I think there's some perspective too for the American collectors to be grateful for the accessibility of these cars that we have and at the prices that we have. And
Andrew in Switzerland, he'll tell you that I think it's a pretty barren place to hunt for diecast. I did an interview with him one time, and he told me that. And so he asked, what is this peg hunting? Well, Andrew, that is, well, the cars are hanging on the pegs in front of you at the stores locally. They're literally hanging on a peg. So you hunt through those pegs and you flip over every one, hoping that the super treasure hunt is right behind it. It really isn't. NASCAR guy, a couple of you guys are making really good points. Sometimes if we're not careful, we can just sit at home by ourselves and buy all the cars we want.
That's true. It is a good excuse to get out and walk around and get some steps in on your pedometer or whatever it is that you're watching your steps on. But it's also it can sneak up on you too, because you'll end up going to the store and going, oh well, while I'm here, I'll pick up one or two little things, and the next thing you know, you're spending way too much money. So. But that's what you run into when you run into a very well stocked store that sells just about everything. But not a lot of peg hunting in Switzerland. Eddie says, don't look for supers or treasure hunts. I'd rather have a custom from the community. Means more. And I know that what goes into making them. A super to me is just another premium car. And it's a very good point. Like I said, it's not even like a Hot Wheels premium, because they're not metal. They'll have real riders, but they're usually just the regular mainline casting with real riders and a Spectra Flame paint job. And when you think about it that way, and you think about yes, it's nice to get one for $118, but the odds of finding one are so incredibly low. And even things like Zamax or Target Reds or whatever are so low that it's almost not worth the time.
I saw a comment, forgive me, was it Tuneworks who found all those chase pieces?
Yeah.
Is there any guys, do we ever wonder if those production counts are maybe fibbed a little bit to get our attention, to get our money, to drive the price up? Is there a chance that one of 750 may not mean that? That's a curious take. Hadn't thought about that. Works.
I mean, I also think it's a distribution thing. I think that they make these cars as a lot. The production run does their thing, and the whole point of chase cars, at least when Johnny Lightning invented the term, was these are cars that chased the production run. So these were cars that were done after the fact, and then they're supposedly scattered throughout the entire run. Now, I am pretty sure that, as the factory is filling up with cars that they manufacture, they're probably shipping them out as fast as they can. So those early boxes may not get any at all.
Yep.
I don't know the exact length of a production run. I know Felix, I think, told us it takes about 9 months from start to finish, from a design to an execution. So the manufacturing process, they're making thousands and thousands of cars, especially Hot Wheels. So, I think a Super Treasure Hunt is supposed to be, they only make 25,000 of them. And then you got like M2 that's making, supposedly only 750. But then M2 also doesn't have nearly the numbers that a Hot Wheels does.
Yeah,
like their main production runs are usually in the 10,000 or less range, and it's the same for Auto World and Johnny Lightning. A lot of those guys, when they make a car or a particular variant of a car, they'll only release a couple thousand of them. So, and then the round two guys point out that like 2% of the Auto Worlds become super reds or ultra reds, and I've got to think that the distribution on them is off. So if you were in a place where you could find, there was a run briefly where I had a job that was very close to a Walmart, and I could go in the morning, and I found M2 chases there fairly regularly. And maybe that was just because that particular store gets shipments from this particular point of time in the production run. That's when they were shoving a bunch of chases in boxes, and if it is truly random. So I think that's what's happening.
It's all the more reason, Chuck, why M2, and I know all of the executive management team at M2 is probably watching this, just lurking in the background. We need you to come on the show, guys. If anybody from M2 ever catches this clip, I'm David. I need you to email me, because we would love to have you on this show. That you you're becoming the white whale of the diecast community, diecast makers that we're hunting.
Yeah, them, and we haven't officially had someone who was actively in charge of Greenlight or working at Greenlight. But
that's right.
Those are, I think, the last two of the big brands. So
we're coming after you. Yeah, we're gonna get you. We're gonna get you.
So a lot of people still defending hunting, and I think that's great. If it's something that you enjoy doing, go with God on that. That's fantastic. I'm glad you're enjoying doing it. If you've got the ability and the time, sure. I think for the typical collector, though, especially when you get to where you've got a family and you've got a job that requires you to be in a certain place for a certain period of time, and that's too bad. I'm sorry that you don't get to do the hunting, because there's people out there that are doing it faster and better, and that's going to be true of any collecting thing. And if you do want it, yes, they do resell them. But that's as we talked in the Scalping episode, which was a fantastic discussion. If y'all haven't seen that one, that's just the cost of doing business. That's the cost of the hobby. That's we have to adapt with the change, and they're going to sell the cars at what the price will bear. And if we don't buy them, the prices will come down. And
what if we went back to the original question, Chuck, and we said, so go back to the time where you chose to buy one of these premium brands. Do you remember the car that you picked? Do you remember why you picked that car? A lot of you guys in the chat have said, well, I was going for a specific car. I didn't know that X diecast maker made my Type R Civic. Rob at Scale Enthusiasm, I know he's got a couple mini GTs, because that's exactly his car. I'll go down memory lane and just kind of tell you, I chose my first one, I think, was a Kyosho. And when I got it, I complained about it, man. I said, this car is so light. It's too tiny. It doesn't roll. And then, I said, I don't think this is for me. I didn't understand what true 1/64 scale meant. That's going to be smaller than a lot of Hot Wheels. And this is just for you guys that are thinking about maybe you're frustrated, you had enough hunting, and you want to try some of these other brands. True 164 is going to be a little bit smaller, but all your cars are going to be in the right proportion to the other. But I remember that day, and surprisingly, you can buy some of these brands for the cost of a Hot Wheels Premium. I got that Kyosho on sale, I think for $5, and it was a black matte McLaren P1, and it was it looked fantastic, looked amazing in pictures. There was a learning curve, so I'm going to tell you guys, when you get them, there's a learning curve. Some of them are lighter, they don't have metal bases like a Hot Wheels Premium, but once you mess around and start seeing all the extra details you get, it is it's pretty cool. So buy a couple. Just, you can't knock something if you don't try it. So buy a couple. And I gave Chuck a couple brands that I love recently, just for that very reason, just so you can at least know what else is out there. I know Rapid Nismo, he's all about some of these premium brands. I watch his videos, and he brings out the screwdriver of truth and points out all the specific details on the car. That's his pointer device that he uses in his videos. So a lot of people are trying them out because it is getting hard to find stuff.
Yep, absolutely. So, and Derek is in the chat. Hey, Derek, Honest Diecast is in the house. So, and again, everybody, thank you so much for coming in. If you've just joined us, we had some stuff come up, and our guest had to postpone, and Mark is unable to join us today. But this has been a lot of fun talking with y'all. It's a really interesting topic, and I agree. I think I think that's the beauty of this hobby, though, is that it's large enough to take all kinds. That you can be someone who wants to collect the super treasure hunts and wants to get up at the crack of dawn and get out there and find those things and make the videos and do the hunt posts and show off your finds, and that's a completely valid hobby. That's completely one division of this hobby. And you could be the kind of person who wants to only buy Nissans and Datsuns, and that's also a wonderful thing. There's a diecast for everyone. I'm going to have that on a t-shirt. It's something that I find myself saying
that's a great
all
point.
the time, that there are yes, Kyoshos are getting a little expensive these days, Rapid, but there's still value for what they got. And you've got X-Car toys and all these really great brands coming out now that give you just about a taste of everything, even the wacky things like Biantis down in Australia that are giving us Holden Monaros and Utes and all kinds of crazy stuff. So
and you'll never replace the dopamine hit that you get from finding something on the Hot Wheels pegs. We're never gonna say you can replace that by buying a Chinese Passat off of AliExpress. There's no way I can spin that.
That is true
either.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Have you tried Temu yet?
I'm waiting, honestly, Chuck. I'm a little hesitant, and for somebody that buys on AliExpress, I really can't knock any other online marketplace because I know the dangers of it. I haven't tried Temu yet. I had something in my cart. I've got an account, and I don't know. It was weird. Something creeped me out about the checkout process. I wanted to just give it a little bit longer. I haven't tried it yet. Have you?
Well, that is a good question, because I've looked at it. I've got a friend who lived in China for a while, and she's back in the States now, and she's bought clothes for herself and for her kids off Temu, and she says it's pretty safe. Like, she feels good about it. She's like, the trick for her, as she said, is read the reviews, because, you know, of course, Temu, like AliExpress, it's not just one seller, it's a whole bunch of sellers. It's a marketplace.
Right.
So
Right.
some people are going to be selling honest stuff. Some people are not going to be. And I noticed there were some of those magic dioramas that I talked about earlier on Temu as well. And there are other like variants of those kind of kits. And there are all kinds of really interesting 1/64 scale offerings on Temu as well as AliExpress and Wish. And again, I think it just comes down to, I imagine it's probably a lot of the same sellers. And
Yeah.
they're just,
No,
they've got
it is.
a Wish
I'm
account
sure.
and they've got an AliExpress account and they've got a Temu account. But she seems pretty bullish on it. She seemed to enjoy it. But, you know, again, she's buying completely different stuff than I would be buying. So
I looked at it right when I heard about it. And there was not a lot on there for 1/64 scale diecast yet. The selections were pretty limited. Not a lot of sellers were on there yet. But to another point, I noticed that when you set up your account, you know, anytime you're trying to build an online presence or an app, you get crazy deals. And I think there was like, here's $20 to knock off your first order. You can get something for basically nothing. I feel you, Rapid. That's exactly where I'm at. Just know that your first order, you can probably get it basically for free with the rebates and gift cards that they give you.
they actually approached Old Man Diecast to ask Pete
Yeah.
to be an influencer. I love that. Yeah,
There you
they'll
go,
give you
Pete.
free stuff. Why not? You know, and I want to roll back to Derek's comment where he said, yeah, I'm over it. Going to focus on customs, showcases, how-tos, exposing the greatness of premium 1/64s. If I lose subs or slow growth, oh, well. And, you know, that's a very good point. And, you know, there are so many people that love the custom builds. And I'm just going to, as a customizer, advocate for custom builds for a moment. Because that's something that I had to come to grips with was the time that I was spending hunting, I could have been spending customizing, which is, you know, the opposite of stressful for me, unless it's something like the build that I'm doing right now, which is under a deadline and due on the 30th. And I'm going, oh my gosh, why did I decide to make a build this big? But, but when it's just building for me, it's so relaxing. It's this moment of zen between you and the vehicle and picking the materials that you're going to use, and if you're going to do 3D printed parts, or if you're going to find the right pieces to go with it, whether you're going to use, you know, some, you know, real riders off of a Hot Wheels kit, or you're going to buy some aftermarket ones from Greenlight or you know, Monoblock or one of the other really great customizers out there. There's so many resources out there now to start building, and the tools to do them are so cheap. You can really literally start with just a drill and a paintbrush and a rattle can and get started. You know, there's some people that all they do is wheel swaps, and all they do is you know, you can get a magic, not a magic marker, but a dry erase marker and take tampos off and give yourself a nice, clean, simplified look. So, well, thank you, Derek. But yeah, think about it. Think about the time. That's, you know, and as Eddie said earlier, like the most meaningful cars in my collection by far are the customs that I've gotten. I've got some from David. I've gotten some from a bunch of other builders out there. I've got some ones from Chris over at what is his thing?
Sideways King 75.
Sideways King 75. I've got some of his stuff that it's not really a custom for me, but it's kits that he's made for the community, and I'm giving money to somebody who it's putting food directly on a fellow enthusiast's table and encouraging him to make more and innovate. And, you know, Christian at First and 64's Customs is, I know he's down in New Zealand experimenting with stuff. I'm really looking forward to seeing more stuff with him. And you know, thinking about your life and your time as having value. And that's something that you can never get back. Like, you can always earn more money, but you can't ever earn more time. And the frustration and the the missed opportunities that happen when you're peg hunting. If that's something that you're doing because you just feel like you have to do it, if it's something you're doing, you enjoy doing it, again, by all means do it.
Yeah,
But
do it.
if you're going, man, I'd really like to be customizing cars, but I don't have the time. Well, how much time are you spending pig hunting? Maybe take a week or two off of that and build a couple of cars and, get those initial builds out of the way to help you build your confidence and get to where you can participate in, something like Mustang Hunter's YouTube car show or Diecast Heroes magazine. Get your, they're, some of the greatest moments in my life are when I got, after my kids being born and my wedding day and all that stuff, I got my Valiant featured in CarCraft, and I got some of my builds featured in Diecast Heroes. And even though I know Diecast Heroes is a smaller publication and it's just for the community, just being able to be like, look, there's us. Like I made this,
Yep.
and and they I say us because they very kindly ran a one pager for our show in one issue,
Right.
and seeing us in that, and that is a fantastic thing. And so again, I really encourage you. It thrills me to see people like Derek and Mustang Hunter who are dipping into doing more customs on their channels, because I think the headspace that you have to get into to do a custom is such a good one to be in. It's almost a meditative type thing of assembling your tools and laying things out and building the process. And it's just like hunting. You have to have a process and you have to have a strategy, and at the end of it, you're guaranteed that you're going to have a car,
Yep.
and it's going to be a car that is going to be not one of 25,000. It's going to be a one of one. And I would love to see so many more customs being swapped around in these the random acts of kindness boxes. And like I really love what David's doing over on Twice Diecast with the what's cracking, and mixing in customs with these really nice bespoke things. That's the meaningful stuff for me. That's the stuff that you carry with you. That's the stuff that really makes you feel glad to be a part of the community.
And I would start with a wheel swap, and Pete at Old Man Diecast has a lot of videos doing wheel swaps.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's a great place to start. Rudy Moons makes a great point. Every car you do is a one-on-one chase. Rudy did a red. What color would that be, Rudy? It's a different red. So I've got my favorite casting, a Lotus Esprit Hot Wheels S1, in a color that probably nobody else on planet Earth has, and it came with a really cool little custom parking lot that Rudy did for me in a gift box. So to your point, Chuck, those are the ones that stick out. A lot of the people in this chat right now, I have customs from them, and I can name every one of them at the drop of a hat. And I can't tell you how many or exactly what Nissan Skyline I have from Tarmac or other makers, but I can tell you which car Derek did for me. I can tell you what car Andrew did for me right off top of my memory bank. There you go, Pete. Pete's got he's got a Twice Diecast custom. What a great topic. I'm glad that we don't have to. Nothing is black and white. What works for some may work for the other, right? And we just collect what we like, because this is a hobby that's supposed to be relaxing and benefit us.
TuneWorks Think Exclusive says, I want to build a channel to show off everyone's customs. That's a great idea. And TuneWorks, you should also you should do that. Also look into Mustang Hunter Diecast, because I know he's doing something similar, and
with a car show.
With a car show. And I think something that I wanted to bring up with him on the show was us talking about finding balance. And again, something that I talked about with Derek on his show that I really don't talk about enough here, and I need to, is that the point of this channel was me going, I can't do this myself. Like, I can't build a channel that posts regularly by myself, because I've got a family, I've got a job, I've got, you know, old cars that are always breaking on me, and I'm always busting my knuckles on those when I'm not doing a custom or doing a video or doing whatever. And so I would like to see, here's my big crazy goal with this channel, and what I would love to see on other channels is more collaboration. I'd like to see people sharing a channel. And I know that that can get dicey, because especially, you know, if you get monetized and then money comes in, and then, oh no, you know, what do you do there? But, you know, like with this channel, yes, it's monetized. Yes, we get, you know, some money from our patrons and our members every month. And I, you know, all of that 100% and then some goes into keeping this show rolling. You know, none of us make any money off of it. It is just to keep the show going, because we love this show and we love the project and we love being able to talk with y'all. And so I would like to see more of that. When I built this channel, when I changed it from Flying Valiant to Diecast Media Network, I wanted it to be something where someone said, hey, you know, I got a video that I want to get out, or I've done something that I want to show off, and I don't really have the desire to build a complete channel to do this. You know, would you, you know, help me out, get this prepped and put up there, and I can show it off, and I can you know, you can direct them to me or my Instagram or whatever. And that's ultimately something that I'm going to be talking about more as this this project continues. And, you know, I'm so grateful to Mark, David, and Kimber for being the first real members of this core team and making stuff like Diecast Breakdown happen. And to the point where, you know, it feels like it's every bit as much David and Mark's show as it is my show. And we all have our parts that we play in it, whether it's David getting guests or Mark maintaining the relationships or me staying up super late editing things. But, you know, so, you know, when you get an idea for a channel, absolutely pursue it, but also look and see if there's anybody else doing something similar, and they might want to do a collaboration with you, and they might already have something that's a little more established. And it's so cool to be able to do collaborations like these live streams with, you know, Derek, or with I know we're going to have Fia from Mad Visions on soon. I'm really excited to be hanging with him. We're going to have Paul from Polyangelis is going to come on. That's really exciting. He's been a big influence to me in my custom builds. And, you know,
yeah, you guys will like that episode. That's going to be a fun one.
And he was, you know, really one of the pioneers of the collab with like coming up with like the 3 blind mice builds and these community builds. And that's another great thing too. You know, if you're going to start a channel, like a great way to build your audience is doing collab builds and community builds. And doing the, you know, there's the 4 horsemen builds are a fantastic way to get into it. You know, I know Xavier's was on here earlier. I don't know if he's still here, but go check out, you know, Diecast Show Customs and check out the 4 horsemen diecast builds. There have been some really great community builds. I know on Facebook there's everything from Gaslands communities and all kinds of great stuff. And that's a great way to build the community and feel like you're a part of something that doesn't feel like everybody's trying to, you know, one of the frustrating things about the collecting pages on Facebook is just, it feels like everybody's trying to either underbid or outbid or buy something out from somebody else or flaunt something that they found that you can't have this and I got 5. And, you know, like somebody posted that they got like 10 of the new Barbie movie mainline Corvettes. And like, okay, cool. You know, that's a Barbie mainline. You got them. You got all of them.
That's right.
Enjoy those. You know, but you know, and that's when it starts frustrating me, is when they, you know, take a mainline and make it something like, you know, Pete brought up earlier the Jegs Challenger. That was a super treasure hunt that I thought was going to tear this community apart. There was
right.
And he got one and traded it for a whole air compressor, you know. But even the mainline one on that one was, and now we've got the Godzilla R34 that everybody's losing their mind over. So Rapid says, all of my customs from everyone are sitting nice and safe in my cupboard as my room is being redecorated. No way I'm having any damage or loss to they're the heart of my collection. And, you know, well said, Rapid. You know, I've got some special cases that I keep a lot of my customs in. And someday I'm going to build I want to do one of those map pin boards where I've got like pins where all of my customs have ended up, and pins from all of the places that I've got customs from. Because I know my cars are in, New Zealand and Switzerland and England and Canada, and and I've gotten customs from just about every one of those places as well. And it's just such an honor to have something that somebody put hours of time into and took something that was a dollar car and made it into a priceless work of art. So
we've got JPM checking in from Estonia. How about that? We are
nice.
hitting every corner of the globe. Hello to you.
Some of my work has ended up in Estonia.
I think it has.
Yes.
In fact, I know it has.
Yes, I know because you sent it there.
That's right. What else have we got? Got to run, Pete. I hear you, brother. Have a good week ahead. Thank you for popping in. So glad that all you guys, and we're kind of creeping toward the finish line.
We're wrapping things up here too. It's been we have taken a bit of a technical nightmare and turned it into over an hour of great discussion with all of you. And again, we can't thank you enough for joining us as we continue to do this. And we took a week off for Father's Day, and I was so excited to get back at it because we've been posting pretty consistently week after week. Now we've gone from, we're closing in on 40 episodes, and, we're going to have shows like this where they're going to be a little more by the seat of our pants, and we're going to make it up as we go and build the track while we're driving across it. But, that's part of doing this and showing up, and we appreciate you showing up with us. We want to thank our patrons once again. A shout out to Fia over at Mad Visions for being our newest patron. Thank you so much for being here.
Hot dog, yeah.
And again to our executive level patrons, First 64 Customs, Video Geek Productions, Mr. Twice Diecast himself, and Donald Rashik. So again, thank you so much for that. And again, please check out David's channel over at Twice Diecast if you haven't already. And of course, Mark McHot Wheels channel over at Dotson Man Diecast. And I know that you'll be seeing him on Honest Diecast sooner or later. I don't know when that's happening, but I know that's going to be coming soon. But yeah, and again, for those who don't know, we have a merch store you can find in our descriptions. This shirt that I'm wearing is Justin Ellis take on the red line wheel design from Hot Wheels, and somebody bought this after our last show. Bought one of these, and right after we had done a commercial for the merch store, we got a sale. So that's very exciting. Thank you so much. And those sales all go back to Justin so he can create more designs. We don't make anything on those. That is just our way of saying thank you to him for providing all the great graphics for this show. And I again can't thank you enough for sticking with us through this. David, you got any final thoughts before we?
That was fun. I think we made some chicken salad out of chicken.
Yep.
So that was a fun time, and this show is for you guys, and anytime that we can interact with you guys, it just makes it better. So thank you for being active in the chat and for being faithful and watching us when we were putting this together with duct tape and paper clips. So it has been a blast, and just onward and upward. That's all I got. And stay juking. Gotta throw that in there.
So, all right, everybody. Well, we appreciate you so much for being here. As always, we want to thank you for coming along with us for the ride. So until next time, stay fresh, cheese bags.